Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dagger. I'm here with my co-host Ramsey Mackin. My name is Rajan Rao. We have a very exciting episode for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking about the aftermath of the NBA Finals and the NBA playoffs as a whole. It's been an exciting playoff to say the least. Ramsey and I have definitely enjoyed watching a lot of the series, and I think it ended up with an outcome that neither of us predicted. Even going into the finals, we didn't predict it. So excited to talk about it with you, Ramsey.
I'm excited as well, Rajan, and congratulations to the NBA Cup champions, the New York Knicks, and NBA Finals champions. Well, I get to decide which one's more important, but yeah, Knicks in five. Start spreading the news. That's what I'm going to name this episode. But the streets of New York certainly deserved
If you make
the
that an
victory.
episode, I'm going to be leaving today.
Oh, I cannot wait. uh, But yeah, New York takes games 1, 2, 4, and 5, beating the San Antonio Spurs, in 5 games. Off to a hard start, and and we're here to talk about it. We know it's a bit late. Game 5 was on Saturday night. We're recording this Tuesday, June 16th, and it's a very important week and month in sports in general. We got the World Cup starting. USA won their first game. We got the NBA draft next week. We got NBA trades heating up. NFL discussions are ramping up a little bit. I mean, it's still dead in the offseason. And baseball, I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah, the NHL, the Stanley Cup. Congratulations to the Carolina Hurricanes. But yeah, we're here for the Knicks. So you want to start, Rajan, and let's begin with the summary of Game 5 to close it out?
Sure, Ramsey.
All right, great. I'll lead us off. So I just have some key points, and then I have some more like specifics in the fourth quarter for the most part. So I would say that most of this game, the Spurs looked in control. Like in that first quarter, for example, I think the Knicks scored only 13 points. Spurs came out with a double-digit lead. It was an 18-8. Wemby had like 3 blocks in the first 3 minutes, and I was like, "This is going to be a masterclass game from Wembanyama. He's going to win at home and force Game 6 in MSG." And I think you and I both agreed that the Knicks would win in 6 after taking a 3-1 lead.
Right.
Um, of course, we were definitely wrong on that account, but the Knicks had almost no bench points the entire game. They had very poor offensive performance from Towns. And throughout the game, some general trends: ridiculous physicality. There were flagrants. There were egregious no calls. Uh, the refereeing was just so confusing throughout the whole playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Rajan, would you agree that we need to find a balance between like the good physicality in the playoffs and then like kind of letting it get too far?
Yeah, and we also need to start finding a way to police the flopping that happened because there were
Yeah,
so many. Eh, all power to the players that did it because obviously they know how the rules work, right? Like we can't hate on Shea and Jalen Brunson for using the league against itself by bumping into a shot and intentionally trying to jump into where the defender is, but also like, is that the
right.
high quality basketball that we want the NBA to be known for as fans? No. So
Absolutely not. Players are purposefully trying to injure themselves and often successfully doing so to initiate contact, and just should not be what the game of basketball is designed around. And the
right.
NBA already has anti-flopping technicals in the rule book. They just don't call them. So if I was Adam Silver, that would be the first change that I would make to the basketball product.
Is there precedent of them actually calling that at all? Like when is I don't ever remember hearing about a technical being
It,
or it's rare.
it's very rare, and it was a span of maybe a few months. I would say like 2 or 3 seasons ago when the rule was initially announced. The start of the season felt different. You felt like guys like Shea, Luca, Trey, Harden, Brunson weren't getting that kind of move as easily, and they weren't getting that call. But since then, it just felt irrelevant. In the playoffs, too, like we've seen it happen. We saw it happen last year in the finals with the Thunder. Like it just, the refs don't call it. And so overall, I didn't have that much of a problem with the refing in this series. I thought this game 5, like, kind of was the worst of the bunch, but it's okay because now we don't have to focus on that. We're done with that conversation. We get to move on to more fun stuff. So, um, but yeah, I would say that the script for the game is kind of what the Spurs probably exactly wanted, right? You had Cat getting in foul trouble very early in the game. He had 4 fouls early in the third quarter, and he did not play many minutes at all. We had, again, aggressive calls on both sides. Wembanyama should have committed a flagrant, or he should have been called for a flagrant, but he was not. And if he had been upgraded post game to a flagrant, he would have been ejected for game 6. And yeah, then I'm just going to skip kind of right towards the end of the game. You had, of course, the Knicks comeback, Brunson beating Wemby in a one-on-one, some free throws down the line. I believe it was Josh Hart who's shooting some free throws, and then Mitchell Robinson out rebounds Wemby on that play to get an offensive board and pass it back, ending up in Mikal Bridges' hands. And yeah, the Spurs just went dead cold, just like they did in the previous few games. It was just straight up atrocious. And so, but it wasn't surprising. And honestly, I don't know how I would feel if I was a Spurs fan. I felt so defeated watching that because I was rooting for the Spurs to make the series interesting, but it's just over and over again. They looked like completely, almost, it's not that they were unprepared because they were truly winning. And we're back. So, yes, the game script in game 5 was essentially the same as the previous ones. And Rajan and I didn't even come on the Dagger to discuss game 4, but that was, of course, the game of the series with the unbelievably out of this world comeback by the Knicks, leading to the OG Anunoby tip. And Rajan, what was your experience watching that game?
I genuinely turned the game off. I don't know if I texted. We have a friend, for those who don't know, who has a repeat history during this playoffs of going to sleep in the middle of games because he thinks that the game's going to be over because one team is winning by, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 points. It happened again, and I decided after halftime to go and practice. And I'm in my room, and I just check my phone, and I just look up the score of the game, and it's all of a sudden it's 104-98. And then it like updated like on Google, the basketball goes into the little Google hoop, and it's 104-100. I'm like, holy crap. I go downstairs and turn the TV on, and I'm watching the whole thing, and the whole time I'm thinking, there's no way they pull this off. And when De'Aaron Fox he missed both of his free throws, right? Or was it Castle that missed both the free throws?
I think it was Wemby.
Oh, it was Wemby. Well, someone missed the free throws, and I was freaking out. And then De'Aaron Fox made one of the most boneheaded decisions ever in going for a layup, blocked by Anunoby. And then when Jalen Brunson missed the 3, I was like, they just avoided and then OG went crazy. And I could not believe my eyes. I think that was one of the most shocking finishes to an NBA game. I mean, obviously the most incredible comeback of all time in the playoff or in the finals.
Yep.
Just really no words.
Yeah, and again, that's part of just what we're going to remember from this Knicks championship team. Runs like that, inexplicable performances down the stretch.
Right, and not just in the finals. They did this against Cleveland.
Exactly. They did it in the regular season on and off, and then they did it against Philly in one of the games, and then they did it against Cleveland in game 1, and then they did it against the Spurs pretty much every game. So let's jump right into my general Knicks takeaways, and I'll jump to that, where the first thing that I have that the Knicks will be remembered for is their comebacks, right? Brunson actually had a quote after they won where he was like, yeah, I don't really know why, but we didn't really show up at 8:30 every game, even though the game started at 8:30. We showed up at 9. That's when they started playing, right? And so the Spurs quite literally led by double digits in the first quarter of every game. And I saw a stat, and I did not copy it down in time, but I believe it was the Spurs' average margin of like victory, or average margin at the end of the first quarter. It was like plus 11. Maybe like plus 11.2 or 3 or something. That is the highest of all time in any playoff series ever, and they blew it. Like that again. I hope that the source I saw was right, but I believe it is.
I think that sounds pretty accurate. I don't think I've ever heard of a team squandering leads like this before.
Yeah, exactly. The Knicks were losing 72% of the series. The Spurs had the lead for 72% of the minutes in the entire series. The Knicks had the lead for 24%. It was tied for 4%, and they won 4-1. I also have some fun stats using ESPN's. You know how they track like the percent chance of winning during the game. So
Sure.
if you track the lowest possible odds that the Knicks had in the 4 games that they won, and you multiply them again, assuming that they're like independent events, and you want to see the probability of all 4 of them happening. 0.0004%. The odds of them winning a game where the chances that they were to lose were 91%, 72%, 99.6%, and 95%. Again, those are
That is
games
ridiculous.
1, 2, 4, and 5 in order. But yeah, and then the other side I had here was that the fourth quarter points, if you look across the series, I think like 80% of their fourth quarter points in all 5 games were from Brunson and OG combined. They pretty much alone carry the entire team on their back down the stretch. And of course, they had significant defensive contributions from other players and the occasional three and spacing that like leads to those kind of plays. But it's always Jalen Brunson who's carrying that team down the stretch. And not that he carried the team to the chip, let's not start that, but I'm just saying that he proved himself to be one of, if not the current most clutch player in the league, which is well deserved, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But yeah, and in general, across the playoffs, they were 6-2 in games where they were losing by double digits at one point. So yeah. The second note I have about the Knicks in general is their dominance. In the playoff run, they went 16-3. They went 51 days where they only lost 1 game, and that was after they went down 2-1 to the Hawks. Which, by the way, congratulations to the Hawks because the Cavs, Sixers, and Spurs could not win 2 games against the Knicks, and they did. So CJ McCollum, pretty much the playoff MVP, if you ignore any of the Knicks, right? But yeah, 16-3, same as my Celtics a couple of years ago, but same as some historical teams.
Had to bring it up.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I think the most exciting stat about them is that net rating, one of the most basic stats that we have about an NBA team, they had the best playoff net rating of all time. It starts and ends
Wow.
there. The best of a champion, because of course there's some teams that like lost, but they still had a crazy high net rating because they ran it up in the first round. But of a champion, plus 15.4, higher than 17 Warriors, higher than the Kobe and Shaq Lakers, higher than the Kareem Bucks, higher than all of them. So how do you feel? How do you feel about that? And then I was also going to say, how do you respond to the haters who are trying to, like they always do, invalidate the run because of the opponents?
Okay, like you always say, to quote Mr. Mackin, you can't control who you play against. That's not all you can do. Like, if we're going to do that, then we're going to play the game of doing that. We're just going to start blaming teams for doing bad in the regular season and being like, oh, because you lost. Well, it's because you lost to the Hawks in January, and that's why you're the 1 seed, not the 2 seed. Guess you had an easy schedule. It's like, what? No. The whole point of the regular season is to have games that you win so you get good playoff seeding. I just saw a podcast clip of Jeff Teague talking about how at some point when he got into the league, him and most of the veterans on the teams that he was on didn't really care that much about losing. Like, it wasn't like as big of a deal. It wasn't like oh my God, I'm going to be depressed. It's like, oh no, well, we have another game tomorrow and later this week, so we have to keep going. It didn't matter as much if they made the playoffs. And then he said that come playoff time, that's when everyone started trying. But then by that same logic, you cannot blame a team that tried their butts off all year, had a good seeding, and played maybe not the hardest competition. I mean, that's basketball. That's all sports. People make the same comparisons in football, and they say that the Patriots had an easy playoff schedule or like an easy schedule in general. It's like, no, yeah, because they were terrible for the last 10 years after Brady left. This is not. There's not even a point in debating this.
Yeah. I'm so done with this topic.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, to anybody who's saying, well, they didn't have to play the Celtics, guess what? We blew a 3-1 lead against the Sixers. We sucked. It's that simple. And the Sixers were better than us in that 2-week span. And even if they might not have technically been better than us the rest of the season, that's all that matters. And so, who cares? Also, I saw some people saying that the Thunder would have beaten the Knicks. I actually think there is a bit of truth to that, and I think
I
there's a
would be someone that's in that camp for sure.
right. I think you and I were saying that there kind of might be a rock paper scissors arrangement between the Spurs, Thunder, and Knicks, with each being each other's weakness. But guess what? They lost to the Spurs in the best series in the playoffs, and so that's
Right,
just how it goes.
right,
Um,
right. What
Actually,
was your other
I would say
question? Was it about the Knicks? You asked
other
me
question
about
about the
what I thought
Knicks.
about the Knicks. I just couldn't. I started rambling about the scheduling thing because that really pisses me off when people do that. Is like it's just a
Yeah,
yeah.
that was mostly it. I was just curious what you thought about the dominance in general, and
Oh, I
like
was gonna say dominance wise. I mean, could we make an argument that this is probably the most like? Has there ever been a team that has came back this many times by being down? I mean, no, right? Because you said that the Spurs, at least from the first quarter margins, right? The Spurs have had the highest of margin ever. Above their
yeah,
team that they're playing against in the first quarter. So this, I mean, like we're talking about clutch player in the league, right? And I think we can all agree that it's definitely Jalen Brunson. This could be like argument for like maybe one of the most clutch comeback worthy teams of all time. Like,
I think so. I don't know how much historical context we need to be able to say it,
right,
but in
right,
our lifetime as fans, like just measuring how good were they at working together as a team and
hmm
figuring it out in the end and finding their groove and their magic. Like
I mean, this
this
feels
Knicks is
reminiscent of like the Brady era Patriots, where it didn't matter how far they were down. I remember thinking as an NFL fan, especially once they beat the Seahawks, like every single game that I saw that the Patriots were down, there's a fear that Tom Brady will find a way to win. This,
right.
I mean, it's like reminiscent of that. Like they were winning by what, 25 or 26 in the third quarter or the second quarter.
29, I think. Yeah. But some people would respond to that and say, well, the KD Steph Warriors never had to come back because they were
Sure,
so dominant. So,
sure.
like, it's almost like the Knicks were just bad enough to make games interesting to then pull off all the time. But they did pull off all the time. So, if we just limit our sample size to that, they
Right,
probably are the best.
right. Or the whole time they were just testing. You know, they were just letting the Spurs have some fun, and then
Yeah.
they decided, right, right,
Maybe their general game plan the entire time was like, let's ease the brakes in the first quarter, let them get a bit tired, run up the score, get confident. Wemby gets a bit more exhausted, and then we know that we can figure it out. I don't know if they are intentionally trying to do that, but it certainly worked if so.
and it's not completely implausible because a lot of the comebacks and the energy started building in the second quarter. It wasn't like they were waiting to the third or fourth where it actually seemed like just a random fluke
Yeah.
comeback. You know, that could be a calculated thing where once the bench players start taking more minutes in the second quarter, they sub some kind of roster in that has 3 point shooters like Landry Shamet. Um, I was gonna say OG, Mikal Bridges, like some combination of them, and then start running. It definitely happened in the second quarter. It was definitely closer than it was in the first. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, I agree. And then the third point I had about the Knicks was just their teamwork in general. And I know it's a tiny bit corny, but like the way this team was constructed, full credit to the GM, um, and manager and owner who have been historically awful over the past like 20, 30 years, or honestly like 50 years if you go back that far. But like this specific tenure, um, they really haven't put together a competent roster at all. Looking at some of the trades they made, people were questioning the Jalen Brunson signing. People were questioning the Mikal Bridges trade. Will Cat ever be good enough to be the starting center on a championship team? And here we are. It all paid off, and a lot of credit to their coach. We'll talk about Mike Brown shortly, but it worked perfectly. And my favorite stat about these Knicks, even more than being the best playoff net rating ever, is this one, which is that of every team in all of NBA history, even going back before the merger, there have only been three teams now to win the championship without any player on the roster receiving an MVP vote that season. So that means like if you were voted to be third place MVP by any person in the country who was a voter, you were technically received an MVP vote, right? No Knicks received any MVP votes. Like Jalen Brunson was third on no one's ballot because it was always like Wemby. Shea, Luka, Jokic.
Right.
The only other two times that has happened was the 68 Celtics and 78 Washington Bullets. That's it. So in the last 22, 26, 48 years, it has not happened. And every single champion in our lifetime, there's been at least some player who was MVP caliber. Like 2019 Kawhi, he was one of the best players in the league that year. But what are some examples that might stand out that you would think? Like 2011 Dirk, that was towards the end of Dirk's career. He still received an MVP vote.
Mm.
And 2004 Pistons, I think it was Rasheed Wallace. It might be Chauncey Billups, but one of them received an MVP vote. So goes to show again how this team was constructed. But that was one of my favorite stats.
I feel like this is also. Correct me if I'm wrong. None of the Pacers last year had the same thing, right? Like none of them received an MVP vote. I don't think there's any way that Hallie would have done one.
I think that Halliburton did.
Oh.
Otherwise that would have showed up on the stat. I'll look it up for you real quick.
Because if they had won, that's very similar to the well-constructed team of everyone having their role and playing the game properly, and finding a way to win with the unique strengths of each individual player.
Oh, I looked it up. You're right. He did not receive an MVP vote, but you're right that he didn't.
Obviously, they lost.
They didn't win. So
right.
Yeah, there you go. So
cool.
Yeah, the thesis I'd written about the Knicks was that we were right all along, and to say we were right all along is funny.
We were not right all along.
We were not right. We were dead wrong all along. But I said in our finals preview that history would suggest that experience, chemistry, patience, trial and error, all of these are what makes a champion. And
historically great
coaching, right? But buying into a collective system that has to do with the chemistry. But all previous champions, like the Thunder, Celtics, Nuggets, they're all battle tested. And the Spurs were so ahead of schedule that they tricked everyone into believing in them because of Wemby and being a GOAT or whatever. But not even he's able to avoid having to lose before you win. Right?
And honestly, if someone of his caliber didn't win in their first finals appearance like this, and they somehow beat, if someone like him couldn't beat these odds, I don't know if we're ever going to see a team of youngsters, complete youngsters being led by youngsters and maybe one veteran that actually succeed and win a title. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. The skill floor for the league is obviously going to only increase as time goes on, which means that the role players that maybe 40, 50 years ago would be considered insignificant to a team's success are now clearly enough to win a championship in deciding fashion.
I agree. It does have to do a lot with team building. But yeah, comparing Wemby even to the likes of LeBron, who lost with the Cavs in 2007, or MJ, who famously never lost in the finals, but that's a very convenient stat because he did lose in the East Finals, I think more than once, and he lost before in the playoffs several times before he made it there with Scottie. But yeah. All right, so let's move on to Jalen Brunson. That's what everybody wants to talk about, right?
Right.
His stat line in the final game, 45 points, which is, I think, the fifth most, maybe tied for fifth or sixth most in a closeout game in the NBA Finals of all time. 14 for 27, 13 free throws. Across the series, he averaged 32.6 points per game, about 4 rebounds and assists. And he, of course, was the Finals MVP. And I remember
you already said this. Sorry to interrupt you. The entire team, the entire rest of the Knicks had 49 points on Saturday night.
Exactly. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Since the Spurs scored 90, he scored half what the Spurs did. But yeah. Wow. What are we going to remember about Brunson from this playoff run? What do you think, Rajan?
Brunson, egg, and cheese, bro. He's the guy. It doesn't matter. Again, this is like if we had to do these, I think we should do this after, once we start doing the NFL previews of comparing NFL players to NBA players. And obviously Brunson does not have half of the legacy that Tom Brady has, but the vibe of being able to always if Jalen Brunson, okay, if you see the Spur or the Knicks down by 5 and there's like a minute left and there's one man that's dribbling the ball down the court and it's Jalen Brunson, what's the thought in your head is, oh my God, I hope he doesn't make this shot because he probably is going to make this shot. Like how many times in the playoffs, I think the first time that he missed one of those like super clutch shots was the what would have been the game winner in game 4, which OG ended up saving him on. But I feel like in general, besides that, he has been just rock
Right.
solid every single
And
time.
even that shot, you knew that that was a good quality shot. Even though
Right,
he was double teamed with Wemby on the 3-point line, you were like, I still want him taking it, right?
right.
Because of the track record.
Yeah.
And
It's scary thinking about what, yeah. Yeah.
I agree. Spurs fans literally had no confidence at all. And this goes back to the CAF series and during the regular season. Um, Brunson has been one of the most clutch players in the league now for some time, but this playoffs he really elevated himself to a level that nobody expected him to get to. It's similar to what we thought about Halliburton last year. Of course, they couldn't pull it off, and he had that injury. But Hallie's ability to make these ridiculous comebacks in that Milwaukee series, and then later in the Thunder series, like it made no sense. And yeah, Jalen Brunson absolutely deserves the award that he received. I have some notes in general about him to put this in some context. He's the king of New York, right? It's very exciting to see how much this matters to him and his dad, who's an assistant coach, Rick Brunson, and so their connection and being able to do it for the city. Brunson's history, he's always been a very significant underdog, right? In high school, he was the best guard in the country. He won 2 championships at college in college at Villanova, famously 2016 and 2018, and he won the Naismith Player of the Year award. But he was drafted in the second round, I believe, behind his own teammates, Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart, and he was drafted in the early second round. And I didn't follow the NBA draft that intently in 2018, but going back, you see a lot of people say, how are we letting this guy fall? One of the best college players in the league. Sure, he might be a little bit older. He's very undersized, but winning is winning. And so, obviously, the Mavericks took a swing on him. He ended up playing for years alongside Luka Doncic until 2022. And then he signed with the New York Knicks in the offseason. Later, he would take a pay cut, a $113 million pay cut off his total deal, which gave them the cap flexibility to later sign Cat and trade for Bridges, add guys like Shamet and Clarkson, keep Deuce, keep Robinson. People thought that he couldn't be a superstar, right? He never really had that ceiling. I mean, reasonably speaking, I think that if you and I were talking before the season, we would have probably ranked him around the 12th best player in the league, right? And most of the season he was there. Like that wasn't really a hot take. It's just he elevated himself in such a way that has happened almost never in NBA history. And now he's entered himself into these all-time conversations that people thought he had no place in being in. But Brunson, I know that he gave up $100 million to win the championship, but I promise that he's going to make up that money way
Right.
more in his lifetime now with how much the city loves him, the statue. He's literally going to get free things for the rest of his life. So it was probably a good investment. Certainly a risky one, to be sure. But yeah, so Rajan, there's a debate going on right now about the greatest Knick of all time.
Right.
So I'm going to explain a couple perspectives and candidates, and then I want you to let me know how you feel about Brunson in this conversation already. So, besides Brunson, there's really 3 contenders for the greatest Knick of all time: Clyde Drexler, Willis Reed, and Patrick Ewing. Clyde and Reed were very famous with the 70s Knicks, the ones that won the title, the last champion being the 73 Knicks. And Patrick Ewing was in the 90s, of course. And so Brunson, for context, is a 3-time All-Star and 3-time All-NBA. And that's basically it. But now he has the Finals MVP and the championship. Ewing was an 11-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defense, and he's first all-time for the Knicks in their points, rebounds, steals, and blocks. It's essentially longevity. They did make the playoffs. They came very close to winning the championship multiple times, including in '99. Even though they lost in five, I believe he was injured in that series. But he played for so long with the Knicks and means so much to that city. You also have Walt Clyde Frazier, who was a two-time champion. They made the finals three times. He was All NBA six times, All Defensive seven times. That's how good of a defensive player he was. And then you have Willis Reed, who was five-time All NBA. He made All Defense once, and he won the Finals MVP both of those years. And so, my personal inclination is that you cannot put Brunson yet ahead of Reed or Frazier just because they have two championships and they have significantly more accolades. Um, and they were there for longer. Brunson's only been with the Knicks now for 4 seasons, I believe. But there is something to be said about the value of their championships versus his, the significance of bringing one championship after such a drought compared to what they did in the 70s. And then versus Ewing, right? So it's just, I guess I'll start with here. What do you value more? The peak, a one postseason Brunson clutch, he won the championship. Without him, they wouldn't have, or an entire body of work, a longevity argument, like that would favor Ewing, for example.
Right. Well, I think that honestly, if Jalen Brunson never wins another ring and just
Uh huh.
continues to play at a high level for say 5 more years, and maybe he ends with 8 All-Star, appearances, maybe up to 9, and then has a few All NBA team selections, I think he's probably there because we have to consider how much more talented the league is now, and also,
Fair.
more teams. The level of sophistication, and also the level of skill that the team and he needed to possess to win these games in these comebacks, like against like the what was the margin that they had? They had like the biggest. It was like what, like plus 15, something like that, for like the team that had the biggest. I can't remember the stat it was,
Like
but it was
the
more
net
than
rating,
the net rating.
all time, yeah,
Yeah,
plus 14 and a
you
half.
got to count that into when you consider, because now we're into best teams of all time territory. We're talking about the 2017 Warriors, talking about the '01 Lakers. But again, as of right now, one ring and a few All-Star selections is not enough to topple what the legends of the Knicks franchise have done. You at least either he needs to win another ring, which I think by doing that, he'll probably have more All Star appearances. I don't see a way for New York to win another ring with this current roster if Jalen Brunson doesn't play like an All Star. Um,
It's fair.
or he needs just more also like more years that are good. But if he has that, I think I would value his ring and this ring. I mean, winning 3 games in the opponent's arena is just mind boggling. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. So I agree with you. I do not think Brunson is the greatest Nick of all time right now. I don't, but I think that he definitely is on the way. I wouldn't be that upset if I was a Knicks fan and they never won another title with this core. That's okay. It's so crazy difficult nowadays to be able to repeat. Of course, it hasn't happened since the Warriors, and so um, even if they don't, but let's say they make the finals again, or they just make Eastern Conference Finals like two more times, and Brunson climbs the ladder and those like leaderboards say he's the second all-time leading scorer for the Knicks. He makes like 8 All-Star teams, and so he has enough of a longevity component. I think he would pass Ewing for sure, and I would consider then like for sure having him above Reed and Frazier, but I think it's too early to tell. And yeah, I don't want to. I don't like when people discredit old rings and accomplishments because the league was easier. But the truth is, like that was pre-merger with fewer teams in the league, and like you have to be objective when you analyze like the number of rings that Bill Russell won. Literally is impossible now, and so if we are just counting and like treating it like ring culture, nobody can ever catch up to those many of those older teams. So yes, this ring was harder than those teams had to deal with. So, but yeah, he's on the way, right?
On the way for sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And how old
um,
is Brunson now? I don't think he's above 30, is he?
no, he's not above 30. He's I want to say 29 or 28.
So he
I
has
don't.
time too. Like if he stayed in the league for 8 more years and was an all-star maybe 6 of those years, to me that means that he's gotten to the point of immortality as a Knick. Um,
He is
you know,
29. So,
he has
but yeah,
time.
he's in his prime now, and
Yeah.
he's definitely got time. So, some other lists that I have. There's only 4 Finals MVPs that are below 6'3" or 6'3", I believe. Isaiah Thomas, Steph Curry, Tony Parker, Jalen Brunson.
Wow.
Great list. Undersized guards. He's on the short list. Add in like John Stockton, Steve Nash, Chris Paul, and then you get to an all-time great list. Uh, Guards with 30 or more 30-point playoff games: Steph Curry, Jerry West, Jalen Brunson. That's it.
Wow.
And then best second-round picks of all time. I think this is a really fun conversation. Technically, Willis Reed, Alex English, Dennis Rodman, they were all second-round picks when the league was smaller. Manu Ginobili, one of the most winningest second-round players of all time. Jokic, of course, is the greatest second-round player of all time. And then Brunson. So I think Brunson is like second or third. Oh, I didn't
He's
write down.
entered these
I
conversations
didn't write
now.
down Draymond as well.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh
he's there.
Draymond.
Oh yeah.
Draymond. Yeah. How can we forget our defensive goat?
But the thing that I didn't write down that I was going to bring up to you was what Bill Simmons discussed on his podcast. He had his second pod after the Knicks championship was trying to put Jalen Brunson in his pyramid of the greatest players of all time and evaluate where he was. And Simmons has always been very clear on this point that the most important thing that you can do in the NBA is win a championship, right? You and I agree with that. That is the pinnacle of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And so attempting to win and coming close is a great thing. But actually winning it is also infinitely better than never being able to. And so he was saying that right now, if he retired today, Jalen Brunson is ranked higher all time than some really significant players who have had crazy long careers who never won a ring. So
Okay.
the first one that I want to hear your opinion on is James Harden. Is Brunson a better all-time player than Harden? Now, your feeling right now is the same way I felt and the same way a lot of the internet felt. I do not agree with that. Like, I think that peak Harden is one of the best players in NBA history, and
Right.
that is more important than Brunson. But technically speaking, that Harden lost to the Warriors in the playoffs and never could take his team to the promised land. But
It's
it
true.
also think about the context too that like nobody could beat that team.
Right.
So
Also James Harden. Yeah. Right. James Harden was in his prime against the greatest team of all time
yeah,
with
that
the
was
greatest
really poor
shoot. I
timing.
mean, yeah. And it's not like the Rockets were. I mean, they were not poorly constructed. They had a great, like the Eric Gordon, Clint Capella era Rockets with James Harden were great. Um, I don't think that they were as well constructed, especially. I mean, granted, we're talking about who we're going against, right? Like that team did not have the facilities to stop Steph and Clay. Um, the Knicks definitely had the facilities to stop Wemby. Um, I think
Yep.
that's part of the argument too, is that the team with which Jalen Brunson won was better constructed to beat the people that they. I mean, again, this is not to any fault of their own. I'm not saying that they had an easy schedule, but the fact of the matter is, the way that the luck happened is they played teams that they were pretty well constructed to play against. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's just not debatable. So
I completely agree. And
and that's to James Harden's credit because he did not exactly have the best matchup against the Warriors. So I think if Jalen Brunson won another ring, I think it's safe to say then maybe it's like yes, like okay, sure, like you can put him
yeah.
maybe a couple notches above.
Or if he has a like top 5, top 3 MVP season,
Right.
Like that
Where he
like
becomes
alone might put
completely
it.
unguardable every single night, and he has a stretch of
Yeah.
games where he's like above 30, above 35.
If this playoff Brunson somehow lasts all of next season, then he would probably be the third or fourth best player in the league, and then I might. But
Right. But even still, James Harden had a series of years where everyone feared the
yeah,
step back. Everyone feared.
everyone knows he's averaging 40. Like it,
Right.
and again, I agree with the sentiment that Harden was not a great playoff performer.
Mm.
There are a lot of samples of that, but in a circumstance like that, you can't just look at the ring. You have to think about, did this player at their peak, could they have been able to take a well-constructed team to a championship? Brunson did, and Harden was super close. And there are
Super
players
close.
just like him that were really close, but running into one of the greatest dynasties ever that couldn't do it. Just like Charles Barkley, who lost to the Bulls, and it's hard to fault Charles Barkley for losing to the Bulls. So,
Right.
I don't have Brunson above Harden, and I don't think that I don't think it's as close as people think, but maybe one
What's
day.
another comparison he made, or person that he?
Yeah, there were a few more. The next two were Steve Nash and Jason Kidd. Steve Nash has 2 MVPs, by the way. Jason Kidd has a championship. Jason Kidd also finished second in MVP multiple times. But both of them, even though they were on good rosters on the Nets and the Suns, respectively, they never got to the promised land. And so he was saying this Brunson run is more significant. This last 2 months is more significant than anything Steve Nash ever did. That's
Again,
really,
the MVP thing is just. I mean,
yeah.
Once we see Jalen Brunson receive an MVP, I mean, if they didn't, Jalen Brunson is the best he's ever been right now. We can say that confidently, right? Like this is like we're in his peak. If he has not even received a single vote for MVP, how can he be in the conversation for better than these two? Than you said, Jason Kidd and Steve Nash. How? There's not a logical way. If he was top 3 in MVP voting one season, let's say next season he goes crazy, he's top 3, top 5. You could have a conversation.
The highest he's ever finished in MVP was in 2024. He was 5th, and then he was 10th last year, and he was 12th 3 years ago. That's it.
That's not enough.
He's never been All NBA first team. Like, so even in that year where he was a top 5 MVP, he wasn't firmly a top 5 player. Like,
right.
And then the other one, which did not make me as upset as Harden, but is still, I think, just crazy, is he said that if they both retired now, Jalen Brunson would be higher ranked all time than his own former teammate, Luka. Luka, who made I'll pull up the stats right now, but I think he made like 5 or 6 straight All-NBA first teams, and he carried the Mavericks to the finals.
I mean, we are making the Dirk comparisons that it was going to be the same level of carrying as like Dirk, and it's like another Eastern European guy.
Yeah, that Mavericks team was definitely good, but they were nowhere close to the level of the Celtics that year, and it's not even remotely worth considering the strength of that team versus this Knicks team. But yeah, Luka in the first 6 years of his career, he won Rookie of the Year, and then he was All-NBA first team 5 years in a row. And then this year, he was All-NBA first team again.
Again, we cannot fault Luka for being put on teams and traded to teams that were pretty terribly constructed. I mean, we don't even need a reminder. After the Dallas disaster, I mean, it wasn't even a disaster class. He still almost won. But the disaster class, all we could talk about is the Lakers don't have the right roster for him. They don't have the defense. They don't have a center. Like the Lakers need a center meme. So that might have been before Luka's time. I mean, still, point being, it's not like to have a team with the best shooting big man in the league, one of the best two-way players in the league, one of the best like
I would say the best
guys
right now.
Yeah, like, and then a bench full of shooters. Yeah. And then to say that that's better than
one of the best coaches in the league.
Right.
You're playing with 2 of your college teammates. Like, come on.
That's a little preposterous, no. Bill Simmons. That's really bad.
Luka I don't love doing this exercise, but if you put Luka on this Knicks team, they didn't lose. They would not have lost a game in this playoffs. They would have.
If you put Luca on this Knicks team, they go 82-0.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
sure.
no,
They definitely. I think they would beat 73-9, though. I think
Mhm.
they should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we're underselling. I think this is the thing. When people are used to greatness from people and from players like this, we
yeah,
consistently undermine how talented they are.
right.
I would say Luca, Jokic, LeBron, Steph. You could still put. I mean, maybe not now as much, but Steph.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
I mean, these guys. It doesn't matter how. Every year they're scoring above 25 a game, and it's like automatic, and we just take it for granted as if it's not an ridiculously insane feat. There's
Can I
no.
can I throw Tatum in there?
You can. You can.
Oh, I can. Okay, okay.
If Jason Tatum didn't win a ring last year, you could. There's and same maybe not for Jalen Brown, but for Jason Tatum, there's no way you can put Jalen Brunson over Jason Tatum if Jason Tatum didn't win a ring last year or 2 years ago.
That I'm willing to have some more conversations about.
You are a Celtics fan. I'm doing you a favor right now.
I agree. Like okay.
Ramsey, what
Life
shirt
on
are you
the
wearing
line.
right now? What shirt are you wearing right now?
I have my Celtics shirt. Life on the line. I agree with you. Because the matter of fact is, Jason Tatum has made like 4, I think, All NBA first teams. Jalen Brunson has made none. Can we just stop it there? Is that
Right.
okay?
Right. That's
Like,
fine. That's fine.
And they both have a title. Even though Tatum did not win the Finals MVP, anybody with a brain knows that he was, if not the best, maybe like 2% less than the best player on that team. And so,
And that wasn't even
he,
Jason Tatum his peak. He wasn't playing particularly well in the series. It's not like he was like peak Jason Tatum and he wasn't the MVP. If he was peak Jason Tatum, it would have been a takeover completely.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even in that 22 series where they lost in the finals, he was the one who had a good series in that finals. I think it was more Brown who kind of screwed it against the Warriors. But yeah, Tatum has finished 4th in MVP like twice, and he has 4 NBA first teams. It's just I don't think it should be compared. Um, but if a Knicks fan wanted to have that argument, I would invite them to. I think that I would win it. So, uh, okay, let's move on from Brunson. I want to get through some of the Knicks more quickly. Karl Anthony Towns. This dude was terrible in Game 7, but he still had a great series. He was the best player in Games 1 and 2. He really was devalued, in Minnesota. Of course, a lot of the fans love him, but here he is now. He is pretty much establishing himself as the greatest big man shooter of all time, I believe. And of course, he thanked his mama in that speech,
Right.
which is truly emotional. And so we don't have to get into that. But
It was beautiful,
um,
and I think that the difference in coaching. I mean, Mike Brown made an allusion to it at one of the post game interviews, talking about how uh, when you're a coach and you have someone like Cat, and I think he was pointing fingers at Tibbs, and he was saying, you have a player like Cat, and something doesn't work on the court. It's not the player's fault if it's that caliber. It's the coach's fault, and they have to find a way to work around
right.
and make a better game plan for that player.
I
And it
love that clip.
worked.
Yeah,
It was
it did.
yeah, it was completely unselfish and no ego in the coaching, which is what the NBA needs more of. More Mike Brown is good.
Absolutely. And then quick notes on other Knicks. OG Anunoby, he's now a 2-time champion. He won with the Raptors, and this time he had the most iconic play in Knicks history in Game 4. Knicks fans would love a statue of him too, but he scored 30 multiple times. He's just truly an all-time run. We don't have to say what's already been said.
Right.
Hart and Bridges, forget them picks, Shout out to Villanova and shout out to Dante DiVincenzo. He only played a year on the Knicks, by the way, so people have very fond memories of that 24 season, but I'm sure that they do miss him. And Mitchell Robinson's rebounding, Alvarado's, spirit, Deuce McBride playing on these Knicks for so many years, Deuce, Shamit, that run that you mentioned. I mean, he's had one of the biggest rises in a single playoffs of any random role player possible.
Right.
We had random minutes from other players. You already mentioned Mike Brown. Also,
Who let
I
the
thought,
dogs out?
oh my, that was a great moment.
That was
And
hilarious.
I saw something hilarious too. I don't know if you saw this, but also shout out to Minnesota sports in general, because now we are establishing a ridiculous trend of like young stars who leave their Minnesota sports team and then immediately win a championship the next year on a their next team. I'll give you all the examples that we have. David Ortiz left the I don't even know the team name, the Minnesota Twins. I don't know.
That makes
Came
sense.
to
Twin City, yeah.
came to the Red Sox, won the title immediately. Sam Darnold.
My
Now
guy.
you know a thing or two about that. Kevin Garnett won a championship with the Celtics immediately. Kevin Love won with the Cavs. That might have taken 2 years or 3 years actually,
Well,
but
it was pretty close.
yeah, it was pretty close. Andrew Wiggins, you know about that.
Of course.
Won very fast.
Right.
And now Karl Anthony Towns. And so the
we know who's getting shipped next, Ramsey.
the city of Minnesota has not won a title in any Big Four sport, and I think in like 30 or 40 years. It's since the 90s at least. And so any Minneapolis fans listening, I feel really sorry for y'all. And I hope that Anthony Edwards stays safe, because I'm sure teams are looking to trade for him because they know that they'll win with him.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And also NFL-wise, 9 on the market. Just you wait. Although, would you agree with me that this might happen to Jettis? I mean,
yes,
it could.
Of course it could happen to him. And it could honestly happen to Jordan Addison too. Although that's not, I mean, he's not like the star that Jettis is, but like still a great receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely, I think 9, no, I'm just kidding. I was going to say a 9 has some potential, but I saw an interview with him. I saw an interview with Kyler Murray talking about his relationship with.
Oh yeah, it was 9, and then he was being all professional, and then JJ was like,
"He's not having this." And I was like, "Dude, you are not doing yourself any favors, bro."
I know. Who do you think you are? I
mean,
that's hysterical. And then my only final note was the contract situation for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson, by the way, is the 3rd highest paid player. He's behind OG and Cat. But in terms of next season, they're losing Robinson. He's a full-on unrestricted free agent, as well as Landry Shamet and Jordan Clarkson. Their most significant pay jump is Mikal Bridges going up $9 million. But I think that they will try to re-sign Robinson. I could also definitely see him getting a bag from a different team. But besides that, don't worry, Knicks fans. Who cares? Celebrate. Y'all deserve this. Absolutely.
Is it crazy to say that we could see Mitchell Robinson on the Spurs? Is that like a completely ridiculous thing to say? Let me defend this. It sounds a little whack. But the reason I say it is the only big man that actually seemed like they could really get a handle on Wemby was Mitchell Robinson. Because even with Hartenstein, the Spurs still found a way to win. Would it be crazy? Now, okay, Mitchell Robinson got paid $13 million this year. Is it like completely out of whack to say that the Spurs might sign him and pay him like 15 just to have him on their team and not like that? I know that sounds a little dumb, but like
it's a funny concept to like put him on your bench and hide him or whatever, or just play him backup.
Right.
I don't think that's a big need though for the Spurs. Like, we're gonna talk about what they need in a little bit, but there are other teams who need a Wemby stopper who would pay more than the Spurs, and he basically would just be like, I don't know, maybe marginally better than Luke Cornett. Like they kind of are already similar-ish, and
right. The Spurs have bigger needs than that.
Yeah, and there are other potential Wemby defenders in the league. Like Hartenstein was good despite all the fouling, and Cat was also pretty good. But Mitchell Robinson, definitely his rebounding was the thing that he's so much better than Wemby at. And so I could definitely see another contender, especially in the West, like taking a swing a bit more on him. I would look for the Lakers if you want to talk.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy
if you want to talk about them needing a center, like Luka is becomes so much better when he has a lob threat, like Derek Lively or whatever. So you bring in Mitchell Robinson, he's so much better than Ayton is. That would be a perfect fit.
Speaking of which, what a disappointment. I remember watching the
Yeah.
Suns and thinking this guy's going to be like the next like guy.
Nah, he was the first overall pick. He certainly was supposed to be, but nah. What a shocker. So,
Yeah. Wow.
all
Well,
right.
let's talk about the Spurs, Ramsey.
Yes, we will. Where do you want to start? I have some general takeaways if you want to.
Yeah, sure. You go ahead. I think we got to go positives and then negatives because there definitely was positives. Like it wasn't a complete. I mean, it was pretty bad, but it wasn't completely bad.
Okay, so I'll start positive, and I'll ask you a question because I know what your answer is going to be. Was this a disappointing season for the San Antonio Spurs?
Yes. And I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you why.
I actually did not think you were going to say that, but
I know you
yeah.
didn't. I know you didn't. A little misdirection. I think that if they had after winning the OKC series, my answer would have been no. This is not a disappointing season. This is a massive success to dethrone the
Absolutely.
reigning champions in their
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Come on, obviously. But as an organization, to get that far and then have the blunders that you blundered, to have the worst, like to be leading by the most of any team ever in the first quarter of a playoff series, to lose 4 of those games.
Yeah.
That's like inexplicably bad.
It is. But there's two schools of thought. You can either say that and you could say, wow, they were so bad in the finals and they had such a good chance to win and they didn't, and that makes it a disappointment. Or you can remove that perspective and say they were supposed to be a play-in team
Right.
before the season. They won 60 games. Dylan Harper, Wemby, Castle were so much better than they thought they were going to be. They beat the Thunder, and then they're so ahead of schedule that they got to have their inexperience
Sure.
taste before we expected them to.
I
But
mostly wanted to be an argumentative there. I think I would probably lean more towards what you're saying. But at the same time, I still feel like it's a little bit disappointing. Like,
it is disappointing. There's nothing wrong with that. The Spurs were disappointing in the finals. And honest, from zooming out, like they should have been able to win the championship and they didn't.
right.
But I think if you compare it against the expectations that we had for them, we would be a bit more reasonable. Like, do I think the Patriots had a disappointing season? No. What if we lost to the Broncos or the I don't remember who we played in the second round, but if we lost to in before the Super Bowl, would I have been a little less hurt about the playoffs? Probably. If the Spurs lost to the Thunder, would that have made their season more successful? No, but wouldn't
I hear what you're saying.
based on your argument, you know you might be prone to thinking like yeah. So it's tough, but I understand your perspective. Like they actually learned a lot more information by making it to the finals and losing, you know, than they would have by losing earlier, and so that's very
Right.
valuable.
Right. Right. It's a good point.
Uh,
But
but
also, it's worth mentioning the Patriots were not going into the final. This would have been like if the Seahawks lost, and
oh,
it would have been that bad, except the
it would
Seahawks didn't lose.
it would have had to be if the Patriots had the whole young team like ahead of schedule thing.
Right.
So
Right. We'd
it
have to
would have had
flip
to
them.
be like if the Patriots were expected to beat the Seahawks, like they
Right.
were the better regular season team,
Right.
and they certainly were not. So, um,
I see your point. Then
yeah,
overall, it was a success because they did what they weren't expected to do. We saw the rise of a top 5 in the league player in Dylan Harper, who is undeniably played, I think, probably the best overall in the finals for the Spurs.
I think
I mean, I mean,
he was
up
probably
with
the best
Wemby.
player.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but and discovering that is valuable because again, if we don't make it to the finals, we don't see Dylan Harper score 25 off the bench in Game 5. Like that's ridiculous.
Right. So we'll talk about Harper real quick. He averaged 18 points per game in the finals. He scored 25 in Game 5. He was their best player in the closeout game. And he played a lot of minutes off the bench. I mean, he came off the bench in every game, technically, but like he did played down the stretch following game 1, I believe. And he finally got the keys to the offense in like game 5. But before that, it was mostly the Fox show, and it was just too late. But I agree with you that he's going to be a superstar. I actually wanted to ask you this open-ended question, like, how many players in the league are more untouchable than Dylan Harper? Because I'll give you one, it's Wemby, and then I'll give you a couple more. Say Cooper Flag, say
Don't say
Shea.
Luca. Don't say okay.
I can't say Luca, obviously. I would, but I would say Shea. I would say maybe Jokic. Could say Brunson now, but I wouldn't do that. He's too old. But Dylan Harper is probably like
He's probably next.
fifth, right?
Yeah. Like
Like
I
fifth
don't
or sixth.
even the Jays, I could see them being dealt if
Yeah.
the Celtics don't get it together in the next couple of years.
Yeah, no, they are even young Jason Tatum was probably about as valuable as Harper is now,
Right.
and look what at the careers Tatum
Right.
has had.
He's
So,
still 18, bro.
oh yeah, absolutely, 19. Sorry, but yeah, Harper is a going to be a superstar. So
Yeah.
Victor
Undeniably so.
Wembanyama, we do have to mention
Victor.
him. Look, he overall counting stat wise had a good series: 26, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks or 4 blocks. But I actually think that he had a generally disappointing series because these stats don't really do him justice. Um, Watching the
Right.
games, he just generally looked exhausted. Right? Would you agree with that?
This
Like
is this is one of those things where you say he didn't pass the eye test, even though
he
the
did not
stat.
pass the eye test.
No.
He was getting out rebounded by Mitchell Robinson. He was not running back on defense nearly enough. He in game 5, in the final few minutes, he got benched for Luke Cornett. Do you remember that? At the 5-minute mark, Luke Cornett came
Oh
in
my God,
when
you're
they were
right.
winning by like a couple points, but like it was like, no, he's too exhausted. We need to get him some rest, and that's not the I don't know arc that a player
When the
you would
whole
expect to
vibe
follow.
of the team is him and then it's Fox for who's running the offense, that I think mentality wise would make everything feels so awkward, and it probably did because Dylan Harper wasn't given the green light until so late in the playoffs to be the 1A guy that when Wemby, the 1A guy, is out, it's like confusion over who's actually like the person that should be leading this stuff, especially when it comes down to getting points late in the game when you need as many buckets as you can get.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that he made some poor decisions in terms of the offensive attempts that he tried to get.
Yeah,
Obviously,
some of those threes were egregious.
I don't think that he should take as many threes. And there were some great plays like in a play in game 5 and game in the fourth quarter when he was like in the corner baseline and he rolled towards the rim and Vassell passed it to him and he dunked right over his defender. It
Right,
probably was Cat. I was like, yeah, this is what will make him the most valuable player. But overall, he just didn't look that confident or comfortable against the Knicks. They had his number. Cat had his number in the early games. Later, again, like you mentioned, the defensive minutes against Robinson were not good. He was not well conditioned. And so the open-ended question is this a stain on his legacy? Does it actually hurt his long-term legacy?
Well, I think playing wise, no. Like from a strictly how did this player play basketball and how were his skills translated onto the court against this team? No. Because the guy is 22 or 23. It's his first finals ever with a young team. We can't expect him to become the next coming of actually nobody because very few people have ever won that young. But I think in terms of being a face of the league, he has absolutely done a lot of damage to his image publicly. I know my mom,
It's
for
true.
one. I mean, my mom watches all the games that I watch at home, and so the TV will be on, and she'll just kind of pass through, and she'll notice. She especially notices when people get fouled or come down hard on the ground or get injured, and her opinion of Wemby from before this series in particular, to after shifted dramatically. I remember her starting thinking, "Oh my God, Wemby's awesome! Like he's so cool! Like whatever. His mom must be so proud. You know, moms do that. Like my
Yeah.
mom, yeah." By the end of it, she was like, the Wemby kid is dirty. I don't like him anymore. And I think that that's a
Yeah,
fair assessment to say. I mean, some of these, and I was trying to defend Wemby against everybody. I don't
he
really
did
have
play
anything now.
very dirty. He
Yeah,
committed flagrants. He remember the Nas Reed thing where he elbowed him in the face. Like this
that was
playoffs, this playoffs changed the public perception of Wemby so significantly. I love Wemby, and after this, like I'm glad that he hasn't played the Celtics yet because I know hopefully we have a Spurs Celtics finals in the next few years, and I know I'm gonna hate him once that happens because he's gonna start doing plays like that. But I generally like love watching him play, and I think his personality off the court is very genuine. I don't think the whole reading books and the whole monk act is performative. I think
no.
he's actually like a down to earth guy, but he definitely needs to control his temper. And yeah, this actually talked about on the internet already. This might be one of the single greatest swings in NBA history of perception of a player like
Yeah,
negative. I don't have any good examples, but
I
in
can't think
our
of anybody like him. No.
in our lifetime, probably not because he definitely is the face of the league now, like going forward for sure. But like, you would want your face of the league to be liked by everyone.
Right.
It's hard. And even LeBron, when he left to go to the Heat, was disliked by so much of the country, but he still had that mantle, and so Wemby will keep it. But
But this
it's
is a
interesting,
different dislike, like this is
right?
it's like we're comparing like LeBron leaving and KD being a snake to elbowing people in the face.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not saying you try to make the comparison, but like
Yeah, those were non basketball like decisions that like affected the entire league, right? But
and
this
you
is
could
like,
argue that they were
how is this
ethically
guy on the
ambiguous.
court?
Right,
Right.
right, right,
I agree with you. So
right, right.
I don't. I think that it's good for Wemby's legacy to be in the finals. I firmly am in the camp that being 0-1 in the finals is much better than being 0-0. I'm always going to think that.
All right.
But
Heck, I would say being 0-10 in the finals is better than being 0-0 in the finals.
absolutely, because that
You
means
still got there.
that means you have 10 conference championships. Isn't that fantastic?
Right.
Like, let's relax a little bit.
Yeah. MJ fans.
Yeah, facts. But it's gonna be tough until he wins his ring, his first ring at least. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then Stephon Castle,
My
very
guy.
bad game 5.
Yeah.
6 points, 4 fouls, 3 turnovers. Overall, just a bad series. I don't want to say much about him. He's gonna stay on the team. He's gonna continue getting better. He's the best defensive player on that team, like for sure. And so besides Wemby, oh my goodness, besides Wemby, but like he's so valuable to them. He'll get better.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to let you continue because I'm going to bring what I'm going to have to say up after you talk about De'Aaron Fox and the rest of the Spurs.
Okay. Well, my short notes about De'Aaron Fox is, oh my God. It's so much worse than we thought it was going to be. Let's look at this game log real quick for De'Aaron Fox. The last 5 games, he scored 7, 20. His game 2, I remember being quite good. 12, 18, but the entire whatever good he had in game 4 was completely erased by that decision to challenge OG at the rim instead of running out the clock when they had the lead. And then 7 points in game 5. He shot 3 for 15 in a closeout game in the NBA Finals, 1 for 8 from 3. And as I mentioned, he completely lost the keys to the offense to Harper, who outscored him and was more efficient than him and is going to be so much better than him because he is already right now. But De'Aaron Fox is also the highest paid player on the Spurs by far. He's making $37 million, and next year is when his contract extension kicks right into gear, and he starts making $50 million, and it goes up every year for 4 years because that's the deal that he signed, and I think most of that or all of that money is guaranteed. So what do you want to say about De'Aaron Fox?
Well, all I was going to say is I think that when De'Aaron Fox gets benched, I mean, there's no way they cut him because that'd be so much dead money. Like, there's just no way. But, like,
Can't cut him.
you can't cut him.
It would be a trade or he becomes the most expensive sixth man of all time. What's a better
Right.
decision?
And also, who in the league is going to take him without demanding, like, significant stuff? I mean, like,
Yeah, he's not like okay. I agree that he's not like a awful contract, but he does need draft capital now. Like a year ago, you would trade Fox for 2 or 3 first round picks, and now it's like I want a young player, and I'm not going to give you an extra pick. You have to throw in another pick for this to be worth my while. Like I
Right,
sent a trade for the Magic if they wanted to send Franz and Suggs to the Spurs for Fox and Vassell and a pick or multiple
right,
picks because Franz is more valuable than Fox at this stage in his career, and
right.
the Magic don't have that many picks and they could use them. But anyway, go ahead.
My point was going to be that Stephon Castle, I think, will excel way more as a supplementary ball handler than being whatever his role is now. I know De'Aaron Fox is the point guard, but I feel like Steph Castle brings the ball up a lot, and I think some
Oh,
of the
yeah, he does.
turnovers are caused by him initiating the offense and not having a great. There's just like a flow that great point guards have where they kind of know where to set up the offense, how to go about it, who needs to get the ball, that kind of distribution stuff. And Dylan Harper has the it thing that I don't think Steph Castle has because that's not what his role is. Steph Castle's job in an ideal Spurs offense is to be the guy posterizing people out of nowhere and then playing incredible defense on the other end on their best player.
Right.
There's no need for him to be the 1A ball handler. Dylan Harper's going to do that. I think De'Aaron Fox getting hopefully traded will make Steph Castle commit less turnovers and be a more efficient and better, I guess, plus or minus, if you want to call it that, player.
Right. It's weird because in the Thunder series, Fox didn't play the first 2 games, and that's when Castle had to be point guard more, and he had 10 turnovers in both games. It was
Mm-hmm.
awful. And then Fox came in, and then he had like a couple turnovers. So that was great. But I agree that by replacing Fox with Harper, it's going to get even better. It's going to be a better partnership. Castle will become more of the I don't know, like Drew Holiday esque like type player that we hope him to be.
With
Where
the
Holiday,
offensive firepower that I don't even know if Drew has. Like, I don't know. I don't see
no,
Drew dunk on people
yeah,
like Steph Castle can.
like yeah, it's like Westbrook how fast he is
Right.
and controlling. Sometimes he can be on a break, but uh, Castle has a bright future. Fox does not. Um, I don't have any like Fox like great trade ideas. I mentioned the Magic one. There's some other ones out there. So next pod we do maybe if when there's more trades or whatever we can start talking about De'Aaron Fox more significantly. But
You want
it's
to talk
expensive.
about the other Spurs real quick, and then we'll get to Mr. Jich Monson.
Yeah, sure. I just had some positive notes about Champagny, Vassell, and Carter Bryant. I like all of them. I think they all had good finals. Bryant, had his minutes, or had his moments, I suppose. But Champagny is one of the most reliable shooter role players in the league, and Vassell, he's their second highest paid player. He's been on the team for a while. He's excellent, and he is a great balance of the offense and defense they need. So have no issue with those guys. The only issue I did have was with Keldon Johnson, who did win sixth man of the year this year. So he's one of the best players in the league for what he's getting paid and what value he brings to the Spurs off the bench. But he had a pretty poor performance in the finals. And so if I were the Spurs, I wouldn't really worry about it, but I could see him potentially getting shipped. I think the biggest need for the Spurs is a better four man to play next to Wemby.
I was about to say, I think, we don't have any issues with Champagne or Vassell because
Right.
I think they'd be great off the bench as well. Like, they'd be fine as a part of the rotation of the Spurs. But I do think that one of them will need to become the sixth man or seventh man.
Yeah, they likely
Um,
will be because we're not going to have Fox, Castle, Harper plus one of those two plus Wemby. It's
right.
going to be
It's going to be
um,
the same problem we had
Fox
this
is
year, which
gone.
is,
We
yeah,
have Harper and Castle. And is Vassell and Champagny really the 3-4 we need to win a championship, or can
no.
we have a better enforcer who is a better rebounder as a power forward? That's what we need.
That's the only reason why I thought the Mitch Robinson pull was not completely crazy
No,
because there's so much firepower in 1, 2, 3, and 5 that if you stick him at the 4 or even consider Wemby your 4 and make him your 5.
yeah. Uh, off the top of my head, one idea for a forward like that would be like Lauri Markkanen on the Jazz.
I was about to
maybe.
say the same thing.
No way.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding at all. I'm
Okay.
being completely serious because the
Okay.
first thing I thought was who can stretch the floor and who is big and who is
Yep.
dense.
That's what you need.
Right.
Strong dude or Kessler on the same team. He's more of the center, but yeah, okay. And then Mitch Johnson. Last thing about the Spurs, what is there to say in your opinion?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Come on, dude. You can't mess that up. You can't be up 29 and then.
Yeah, he is more at fault for all of the blown leads because he's the coach. Just like what Mike Brown said, it's the exact reverse of that. Well, it's actually the exact same thing. He's responsible for the issues that they have. And so, look, Mitch Johnson is not getting fired. Relax. He is not going anywhere. He is way too good to just be fired.
Right.
But
we got to remember this is his first time coaching like this level.
This is his first time being a head coach in the playoffs, period. And so he needs the experience like Wemby does, like Castle does. They'll all improve with time. And I think that Mitch Johnson will go down as a great coach, and it's way too early to give up on him. So don't overreact. Okay? We're all good.
Yeah, I'm not overreacting. Don't worry.
All right. I appreciate it, man. And yeah, the contract situation, as I said, it's really just Fox. But other than that, they're looking very strong. I guess they're losing Kelly Olynyk and Harrison Barnes. So that's tragic, but they'll be okay. And our only additional topic today, again, congratulations to the Knicks. So we can move on a little bit to discuss Giannis Antetokounmpo. Every podcast in the world is having their fun talking about the Greek Freak and where he might end up. So I can confidently report for the Dagger Sports Network that Giannis will be traded. This time a year ago, I was thinking the same thing, but I was leaning very significantly towards he's probably not going anywhere because they're lazy and they want to try again, and who knows. But that was also around the time where they were waving and stretching Dame, if you remember the good old days. And
we got to clip that episode.
Yeah, they signed Miles Turner, and so they tried one more time. But Giannis wants out, and there's really only two contenders: the Miami Heat, where Rajan lived at for a while and knows a bunch of Heat fans, and my Boston Celtics, which is something thought I would never say in my entire life. That Giannis might be a Celtic, and yes, there are other teams that reasonably could trade for him, but most of them are kind of out of contention now. And according to all reports, those are the only two serious teams. And I believe by next Tuesday, the 23rd, which is the NBA draft, the Bucks will want their extra picks by then. I think Giannis will be gone by then. So I'm just going to lay out the two packages for either team, and I want your thoughts, Rajan.
Of course.
If it's a good package and if it's a good fit. So the first one is the Heat. The Heat receive Giannis. They also might receive Thanasis. I don't know. Like, if I was Giannis, I would want him coming with me.
Bro.
That's like a negative asset for the Heat, so I don't know if they want that.
Spending $10 million a year, not $10 million, but like $5 million a year for a 13th man. Great. Awesome.
Right. And then the Bucks receive Tyler Hero. I believe he's been an all-star. Kel'el Ware, rising center. Jaime Jaquez, rising rookie player. He almost won Sixth Man of the Year. He was second behind Keldon Johnson. So those are two great young players, and then like an established, like pretty solid star. And then the 13th pick, 2 firsts, and maybe additional swaps. As far as packages go, I think that this is an excellent package for Giannis. I think it's pretty much – I think at his peak right now, Giannis is a top 5 player in the league, but this many picks and this many actual good players is pretty reasonable. But I don't know about the fit. So how do you feel about a team that once they gut their depth, which is like this is half their team, they're left with Bam, Giannis, Norman Powell, Davion Mitchell, I don't know. It gets really shallow really fast.
Yeah, they would have to really trust on making some other moves in the offseason. That would probably have to mean like I don't want to say they have to ship out Bam, but like to get some other semblance of good guard play, like them we're just doing the same thing that Milwaukee's already facing, which is a great star and then like kind of nothing around him. Like
Yeah.
I don't really know like
I agree. If Giannis wants to be traded to win a championship,
right,
why on earth would he go to Miami?
right.
They're so much further than most teams in the league are, and Bam, according to the Heat, is untouchable in this trade, so that's why he's not being part of the package. But if you
I
lose
mean, do we
Hero,
really think that Bam and Giannis together are going to be a good combination of
I don't think so.
no.
Like, Bam, no, I genuinely don't even understand. Like, both of those dudes generally play the four.
Hmm.
They are better if they have a stretch center next to them, which the Heat don't.
Right,
And then you're right. Where's like the good ball handling guard?
right.
Norman Powell is like what 35 or something, and he plays
Small
small
forward.
forward.
Yeah.
It would be such a confusing
Giannis
roster.
to like the Hawks would make more sense if that was even plausible. But I don't know if it's
That was
plausible.
thrown out there. But yeah, we're gonna. Even though I think it's an okay package, I don't know why Giannis would want that.
Although I mean not although, but I was gonna say I think that in order for this Giannis trade to work equitably ish for all the teams involved, it would have to be some kind of three team trade, because there's just no way to
Right.
do one for one, or in this case like basically six things for one.
Right, and with all the salary concerns nowadays, it's likely the case. And if I were the Bucks, for example, like, do I actually want Tyler Hero on my team? Like, probably
Like does
not.
he
I want a tank, you
right
know.
right does right.
Like he would carry them to like the 11th seed, you know, just make it inconvenient.
Just missed the play in, but like maybe they're like an underdog in the NBA Cup. Oh, great.
Right, exactly. Although I should say that with the changes to the NBA lottery now, remember I explained like being a really bottom team is actually worse than being like a mid bottom team. So maybe the Bucks like are like, okay, let's keep them around. Let's enter territory of like the Nets and Bulls and like, I'm sorry, Bucks fans, it's not going to be fun. Okay, and then the Celtics perspective. So I will say there are two things that could happen. One, they trade Jalen Brown. If that happens, I'm going to need to write like a 10,000 word essay about how much number 7 means to me, and I'm not ready to do that right now.
And how happy it is to have Giannis instead of him.
I love Jalen so much for all that he's done in the last 10 years of my fandom that it's going to be so hard to say bye to him if it happens. So I'm not going to discuss that at all now. I'll come on the dagger and talk about that if it happens. But
I mean, this is like when Bobby Wagner left the Seahawks. It's like this level of heartbreak.
yeah, honestly, it probably is. And Jalen just had the best season of his career. I don't know what
No, he
Bobby
was
was
already
at.
on the way down.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was still leading the league in tackles on his way down. It was a heartbreak.
Right, and so I would be very depressed, but excited. The other avenue is that maybe there's some world where Brad Stevens can trade for Giannis without giving up JB or JT, which that honestly scares me more because that means like we're losing Derek White and Peyton Pritchard and a bunch of picks and probably someone like Jordan Walsh or like another like rotation guy. And I've always been in the camp of you cannot trade half your rotation for one player. It never ever works. And
No.
every champion we've seen has at least like a 9-man roster in the playoffs that's reliable, right? And so I don't personally. I don't think that trading for Giannis is a great idea in general because he's 31 years old, and most of NBA history suggests that players like him that are super athletic like do not age that well in their 30s. And he already has an injury history. But I understand that the Celtics want to take a swing. I think that basketball fit wise, Giannis as an enforcer and a rim runner next to Jason Tatum, who's might be the best 3-point shooting forward in the league, and an incredible playmaker and defender. That basketball
It'd be
fit
a
is
nasty
better.
combo.
It would be. It would probably be the best duo in the league when healthy, and that basketball fit is better than Brown and Tatum, which won a championship. And so that's what I'm here to say. Like, I would be so sad if they got broken up because it worked, but since it already worked, we kind of have the luxury to change it up. Like, we don't. It's not like Brad Stevens owes it to the fans to really try with Tatum and Brown. We did it. Like, maybe that's what makes him more okay with moving on.
What did you do, Ramsey?
Okay. I heard it. I heard it.
What are they gonna say now?
So let's talk about the Jalen Brown trade because I think that's more likely.
Yeah.
I should also say it's because Jalen Brown went on his podcast and said that this season was the most fun season of his career. Whoops.
Yeah, that's kind of the same equivalent of like 9 saying whatever crap he said about.
Don't you dare put Jalen Brown and 9 in the same conversation.
But there is something to be said about the chemistry loss that comes from that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jalen and Jason has had good enough chemistry to win so much, but he wants his own team, and I think he would be more happy not winning a championship, being the best player, than playing third fiddle on a team with Giannis and Tatum. Like, come on. Or with Giannis.
Also, how would that even be constructed? You have, I guess you have JB at the 2, Jason Tatum as a very large 3.
Yep.
Giannis is an even larger 4. Actually, I think this is the same height. And then who's your center and who's your point? Like,
our center is Keita, who I like a lot, and is probably good enough next to Giannis. Like, you don't need that great of a center. And then the 1 is tough. If we lose Pritchard in that trade, assuming we were to keep Brown, then it would be like someone like Ron Harper Jr. or more, which he was. I got nothing to say about Ron Harper. I like the guy, but oh, he's Dylan Harper's brother, by the way.
His daddy ain't.
Yeah, nah, facts. And the fit, or I mean, the roster would be so shallow that they would have to draft and find players like on random cheap deals. So let's assume Jalen is getting shipped, okay? And then quickly, I'll just say, what would the package be? Simply put, Jalen and Giannis are probably similar in value. They have like almost an identical contract right now. Jalen is younger and more in his prime. Giannis, when healthy, is better, but is older and more injured. And so that's what makes them about equal. Maybe you add a pick to Giannis, maybe. But like, the truth of the matter is that Jalen will not end up on the Bucks if this happens. Why would they want him? They need to tank. And so then he gets rerouted. And I'll give you 3 teams where he could get rerouted. And I want to know which one of these do you think is the best idea. The Clippers, the Hawks, which you mentioned, for Giannis maybe, and the Blazers. The packages could be, for the Clippers, the Bucks would get the 5th pick. That would basically be the trade, like the 5th pick in this year's draft. And then,
which is a pretty good draft, right? I mean, we're talking a pretty good.
It is a great draft, and they would get someone like Darius Acuff, who could be a future superstar point guard. Salary filler, we might see Kawhi get traded. I don't think Kawhi will be involved in this, but I think that there are other players who could get traded, and more draft capital. Okay, the Hawks. What if JB gets rerouted to Atlanta, and then the Hawks send assets to the Bucks? They get Kuminga, they get Zachary Risachet, Corey Kispert, the 8th pick, and maybe more picks. It's worth noting, I think that – oh, sorry. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah. But that's the Hawks. And I think basketball fit-wise, that might be the best because they were the 6th seed. They have Jalen Johnson, who's a really good defender, Dyson Daniels, and they have actually a pretty strong roster right now. And then the next option is the Blazers. Basically, the Bucks would get Jeremy Grant in his contract, which is a pretty bad contract, but Jeremy is playing okay nowadays. Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, solid young players. Scoot is definitely the project. And then what's very, very valuable to the Blazers is that if you remember with all of the Dame
With the
deals,
waving and stretching.
exactly, they have the Bucks picks, and so they get Jalen Brown, and then the Celtics are like, we don't want your picks. We got Giannis. You can give the picks to the Bucks, and they give them their first round picks back, or they cancel some swaps that are upcoming, so they don't have to worry about the tanking anymore. So
Mm,
the Bucks definitely want that. That would be
right.
and the Blazers were the 7th seed this year. They lost to the Spurs in the first round, but they have Denny Avdia, Donovan Clingan, and Tumani Kamara and a very well constructed roster. So versus LAC, the Clippers, it would be like Jalen Brown, Benedict Mathurin, Darius Garland in a new era. So which of those three do you like?
I oh I actually was expecting to say I like the Hawks the most, but I think I like the Hawks the least now.
Really?
I think I'm really fond of this Portland thing because Dame is still
Yes.
active.
I didn't say it, but Dame and Drew Holiday are there too, like to be the veterans.
Like, could you imagine a roster with Dame? Now, granted, they are older, right? But
Yep.
they're not. I mean, it's not over yet. Dame, Drew, JB, Denny Avdia,
Yeah.
and
Donovan
who?
Clingan,
Donovan Clingan.
who we're suggesting to be maybe the center of the future for the U.S. Olympic team
Right.
next
This
to
is not
Jalen Duran.
bad. This is not bad at all. I also really like the idea. I think Darius Garland got shipped unfairly. I think. I mean, not unfairly. He didn't really. I don't know if he really fit what they needed, but I still think he's a great point guard. That could be kind of lethal with Kawhi as well. Like the JB Kawhi combo. I mean, again, Kawhi is aging, but Kawhi is also still scoring a lot of points for his age. And JB could take
Yeah.
over some of that responsibility and make Kawhi a lethal second option. Like,
Yeah. Kawhi could totally buy into being a second option. Yeah, I'm just checking the depth chart for the Clippers right now. It's Garland, it's Kawhi, Derek Jones, um, Mathurin, and they have a lot of old players. We had a conversation a year ago about the unction with
right.
Brooke Lopez, John Collins, Batum. But
Oh,
yeah,
Batum.
yeah, Batum. And the Clippers have the 5th overall pick this year, and so that's what makes it a little bit risky. Like, um, the main motivation would be the simple fact is that the first 4 picks are pretty much decided. It's going to be the top 4 guys in some order, and then the next from 5 to like 8 or 9, all of the best players are point guards. And so the issues for the Clippers is why would we draft a point guard? We just traded for Darius Garland, and
Who's
so
still young.
who's still young and could be more valuable. Maybe hasn't hit his peak yet. He was an all-star at one point, and so if you trade that for Jalen Brown, that's by far the best player you might receive in a deal like that. And Jalen becomes the best player on an LA team. I think he would love that.
I actually think I'm leaning towards the Clippers, dude. Like,
Wow.
for the Clippers organization, obviously that's great. I think for the Bucks, in terms of what they will want back, I think that the most appealing package is probably oh,
I
it's
think it's
probably the Hawks, right?
mm,
What would
it.
you say?
I was gonna say the Blazers because with the potential of getting your own picks back,
True.
that's the most important thing you can get. And the Blazers have young players like Scoot Henderson and Tomani Kamara and Shaden Sharp. The Hawks, though, is interesting because they have the 8th overall pick as well as players. And so if you want a great first round pick right now, you do the Clippers. If you want a great first round pick and players, you can do the Hawks. Or if you just want more great players, it might be and later picks, it could be the Bucks. And
I
so,
actually see what
sorry,
you're
the
saying
Blazers.
about the Blazers because if they get the pick back and they tank a little bit, right, then there's a better chance that pick turns into a better pick for them, and they're set up with, maybe this rebuild is not a 10-year rebuild, maybe it's like a 6 or 7 year rebuild.
Had to squeeze it in there. I respect it, though. if I were to make one decision, one prediction, assuming we get this podcast out before uh, Jalen is traded, or sorry, Giannis is traded, I would say Giannis does become a Celtic. That's where my heart is leaning right now. And if he doesn't, I will not be upset because I think that in due time, Brad Stevens will be proven right. At least I hope. I think that Jalen would get traded in that circumstance. And I think between these, I would lean towards the Blazers because I think that that would be the most promising from the Bucks perspective. But would the Bucks want to do that? Or sorry, would the Blazers want to do that? They recently changed ownership, and now they have a really cheap owner who they didn't even keep their head coach Tiago Splitter. He went to the Bulls, and so maybe he doesn't want to pay Jalen Brown $70 million. In which case, yeah, maybe Atlanta and LA are good fits. But if that's the case, I'll miss you, Jalen, and I'll state my piece on that should it arise.
We're going to get a whole preamble constitution from Ramsey Mackin if Jalen Brown gets traded.
Absolutely. No, I'm going to have a scroll out and everything. I'm going to post like 7 Instagram stories. It's going to be
hashtag don't hit
horrendous.
Me up.
Yeah, not for real.
Nah, for real. They really did. Well, we have been the Dagger. Thank you guys for listening. We're going to be definitely reacting to the Giannis trade whenever it comes out, and we'll hopefully get that episode out the same night that everything goes down, because I imagine it will be very soon. And then now that the NBA is kind of grinding-ish to a halt, I'm sure we'll do some draft coverage and start talking about some fun games and potential situations for teams after with their new drafts and their new rookies.
I would say Dylan should be good for a draft episode next Thursday. Awesome. So if we can squeeze that in after the draft, we'll do that immediately. Before that, probably a Giannis episode if it happens. And then after that, like you said, we'll have some fun. We'll start NFL.
We should do some way too early.
Absolutely. World Cup.
Go USA.
Go USA. Playing Australia on Friday. Beat Paraguay convincingly. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. We know nothing here, though. We're not soccer experts.
Yeah, no. We're just going to be going. Us in soccer is me in March Madness.
Right. Yeah, this guy. Right. High point to the Final Four, ladies and gents.
It's always next year. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. We hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. We do check the comments on YouTube and Spotify, by the way. Send us a DM if you'd like. If you have any ideas for some fun content or whatever. And I think that's everything.
That is. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great day.
Or night.